Hello everyone, Monty here, and today's chat is entitled Bootcamp for Your Taste Buds. So this was actually a chapter from a book I started writing that I never finished on health and diet and motivation, and it's about how we need to change our taste buds to be successful on a new healthy regime, whether it be diet, and trying to eat cleaner or to lose weight. So before I get started, I'm sitting here having a 0-calorie espresso. I have 2 Nespresso machines in the house, one in my kitchen and one in my little mother-in-law suite. I'm just obsessed with it. I'm kind of celebrating today because today was my last day as managing one of these development teams that I took on as a temporary position. For those who don't know, I do a lot of things at work, but I'm a technology consultant. I teach different applications. I'm a coach on agile and safe methodology, which is a software development methodology. And I haven't managed a team in a long time, a software development team, but they needed a temporary leader. And I'm proud to say out of 9 teams, we were the newest team. They formed a brand new team and they wanted me to take it over. My team performed the best this month. It was so great that the review was on Wednesday. And I sure hope they would perform the best. I teach this stuff. And so it was really a great way to end this horrible job. It was horrible. I was working like 12 hours a day to get this team into shape and get them to perform so highly. And so I'm in a really good mood today. I get to start a new position. I'm working for the same company. I'm consulting to the same company for my company, but just doing the original role I was brought into. What I was doing for the last 2 months was running a team, which was not what I was supposed to be doing. But they did find a replacement for me finally, and so I can start now a more 9-to-5 job. I've been working like 7 in the morning till like late at night every single day and working on weekends, and that's all over with. But I tell you this story not to brag about how good the team performed, but also to reinforce the techniques that they use, not just in business, but in health. I use that Tony Robbins technique. I talk to myself, the leverage technique. And I always think it's so important for us to talk ourselves out of negative thought. So when I started this new position, I haven't ran a team in like 5 years. I've done consulting where I go in and evaluate or I teach different classes. I haven't ran a team day to day, and I had a lot of negative thoughts, and I used all those techniques of talking to myself and saying, you can do it, you did it before, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, my team had 9 teams, and the newest team was the most high-performing team in just a little under 2 months than any of the other teams that have been around for a while. So just remember, always talk to yourself and push out those negative thoughts, because I love the expression, if you think you can and you think you can't, you're right. I love that expression. All right, so we're here today to talk about Bootcamp for Your Taste Buds. So let's do a recap of certain things that I've talked about. I talked about chasing the sweet the other day, and about how we got to get off that concept of tasting the sweet, whether it be sugar or artificial sweeteners or molasses or honey, and how all that stuff turns to sugar in your bloodstream right away and it can make you fat a lot quicker than a natural sweetness you'd get from like a peach, a whole food with the fiber, which is slow released. I talked about sugar in general, how bad it is. Yesterday I spoke about why diets don't work, and new health regimes. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about your taste buds. And why do we eat certain foods, and why do we find hard to get away from these foods? And before I get into the taste bud thing and the scientificness of the taste buds, why do things taste a certain way so good to us and we're so obsessed with them? I think, well, first of all, you're addicted to those foods. We in America put sugar in everything. I talk about this all the time, that 80-something% of all things are in an article in the supermarket have sugar. And when I go to buy things like corn in the can, or I tried to get these mandarin oranges to make this oriental salad for my mother a couple months ago, it was so hard for me to find corn or the mandarin oranges for that salad I was talking about without added sugar, just to get natural stuff. It's like crazy. Everything has sugar, or it has some artificial sweetener, and they use all these different names to try to mask the sugar. And so we've grown up with all this processed foods. If you're my age, 56, I was born in the 60s, but maybe people a little bit older who grew up in the 50s, didn't eat as much processed foods, and it was more home cooking, and we didn't have that back then, that crazy obsession with sugar. So our cultural aspects, our American food culture with all the sugar has made us think that it's not sweet, it doesn't taste good. And then because we laden the food with all the sugar, we don't really even know what real food tastes like anymore. But the good news is that you can retrain your taste buds. And I've proven this because I've done it, and I've done it twice. So somebody was asking me the other day, did I get off sugar all at once and get off all artificial sweeteners all at once? Well, I started with the artificial sweeteners first because I read how bad they were, and I remember this nutritionist saying, I'd rather you eat a little regular sugar, which is not carcinogenic. It may be inflammatory to your body, but it's not going to give you stomach cancer, or it's not going to kill the flora in your digestive system. So I got off artificial sweeteners years ago, and I read all these things about, probably 10 years ago, and I read all these things about artificial sweeteners and possible links to MS. Google it all yourself. I mean, there's unbelievable amount of things: aspartame, NutraSweet, and even stevia. The way it's processed, I talked about the other day, it's processed with toxic chemicals. So anyway, and now I'm kind of getting off train here, but we can retrain our taste buds. The good news is, and I've done it, but the problem is, why do you think most people aren't successful retraining their taste buds? Either A, they don't know about that you can retrain your taste buds, or B, they start trying to get off sugar and then they just give up, right? So we are a society of instant gratification as Americans, and we don't give anything enough time. And I can tell you this, that I read another article that said by February 17th, and I picked that day, they didn't say like a week, 2 months into, or a month and a half into the new year, but by February 17th, 80-something% of all people have given up their New Year's resolutions and given up already from New Year's Eve. I mean, unbelievable, right? And it just proves that people give up. They don't give it enough time. And I got to tell you, I read an article about your taste buds and how they regenerate every 21 days. And so you can't possibly expect your tastes to change if you know your taste buds are going to totally regenerate in 21 days before the 21-day marker. And interesting enough, I felt like the first time that I got off of sugar, I definitely noticed my taste change in about 3 weeks. So that's very interesting. But my mentally addicted to the sugar probably took me 5 to 6 weeks before I wasn't like jonesing for. I was a big sugar addict, very, very big into sugar. Mostly some chocolate with sugar. Chocolate's a lot of sugar. And so that was my big thing. Oh, and now I remember what I got off track here. Somebody was asking me, did I get off sugar first and artificial sweeteners, both cold turkey at the same time? No. 5 years ago, I got off sugar, but 10 years ago, I got off the artificial sweeteners. Both times I went cold turkey on both of them. I don't know. I've read some articles that said it's good to taper off. Some people say going cold turkey is the way. I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. Again, you always got to find out what works for you. What worked for me was going cold turkey. The couple of times I tried to taper off, I was still getting the sweet and I was still jonesing for it. So I think for me, it was better just to go cold turkey and go through the pain. And again, it's going to be painful, right? It's like getting a detox from a drug when you get off sugar and all the fried foods and all the bad foods, and you're trying to cleanse your palate. So I kind of did it all at the same time. First I got off the artificial sweeteners years before, then I got off sugar and started eating clean. And for me, I knew it was going to be so hard to get off the sugar for me and eat clean at the same time, and try to only eat what I was making when I was home and when I was traveling and on the road, ordering everything without the sauce, without this, without that. That when I was home cooking, that's when I really started focusing on making my plates beautiful, because I said, I know this is going to be hard, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And then I want to look down at the plate, and I don't want to feel like I'm being deprived. I'm like, oh my God, look at this piece of broccoli and grilled chicken. Oh, I'm like, I'm being tortured. It's like I'm in prison, right? I wanted to look down at the plate instead of having a negative thought. I wanted to look down at the plate and say, oh my God, look at this beautiful plate of food. I am living, I always came up with the saying, a luxurious food lifestyle. And that has stuck with me ever since then. And every time I make a meal, even things I don't post that you don't see, because I'm just too tired to post. Some days I'm like that. I don't even want to post. I type in all the calories, and I just don't want to do it. I always make the effort to make it beautiful, because it's always, people say you eat with your eyes. First impressions. Why I always say, put your best foot forward, because people do judge everything at face value. They look at a person who's well-groomed and, oh, that person looks put together, and they think something about them. And when you look down at a plate, you're going to go, oh, this is a bunch of slop, ugh. Or you're going to go, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And it probably will taste better than it really does, because it looks so beautiful. When I have dinner parties, I'm telling you, sometimes I think the meat is a little dry, whatever, but I lay it out so beautifully. People are like, oh my God, this is the best ever. And I'm like, see, that just goes and proves my point. So I want to also give you guys some example of how you really can retrain your taste buds. So if you don't drink alcohol and you don't drink coffee, this will make no sense to you, so I apologize. But I just remember back as a kid, the first time I drank coffee, I thought it was disgusting, but I needed the jolt. I was studying up late at night as a kid in high school, and that's when I started drinking the coffee, and I'm the kind of guy, I like something, I would never do it down, or I like things that make me get up, right? So I did have a little stint with cocaine, like that too much. I'm sharing a little bit too much right now. But I love the caffeine today. It gives me a buzz. But I hated the taste at first. Now I love the taste. I jones for a cup of coffee. The same thing with alcohol. Probably the first time we all drank alcohol was like me. I vomited for hours, right? I hated the taste of it. Beer, I was like, oh, it's like disgusting. It's disgusting. Now I crave my alcohol. I crave a beer, or I crave my favorite, the tequila, which I also hated at first. But when I heard that it helps burn fat, I switched to tequila, and after a short time, I love the taste of tequila. So you think about those things. You can retrain your taste buds, but it's going to be hard, right? So another thing I find that when people go on a new regime for health and wellness, they say, oh, I'm so excited, it's a new year, and I'm gonna work out, and I'm gonna diet, it's gonna be so easy, and it's gonna be great. And I keep saying, oh, hell no, it's not gonna be great. It's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be really hard. And if you try to pretend that it's gonna be great, you're going to be very disappointed when it's not so great, right? It's going to be hard. You're going to go through a detox. You're going to get maybe even depressed. You're going to feel sluggish because you don't have that sugar flooding into your system. And I always say it's going to be hard, but you have to choose your hard. It's hard to get through that detox, which everyone's different. It could be, I don't think it'll be shorter than 3 weeks, and your taste buds regenerate. It takes 3 weeks. So let's say some people it could be 4 weeks. Some people it could be months, a couple of months, 3-4 months. We all are different, so everybody's different. But I think 6 to 8 weeks is a good expectation where you feel. That's when I think you could totally. Your taste buds will regenerate after 3 weeks if you're eating clean, no sugar, and then it takes another X number of weeks for you not to mentally crave that anymore. And then when you wait that 6 to 8 weeks or 10 weeks or 12 weeks, whatever it takes you, and you feel like I'm not craving anymore, and you go back to try to eat anything that has sugar in it, I guarantee you it'll taste disgusting. I guarantee you whole natural foods are going to taste so good and delicious to you. You'll taste the sweetness in a salad. You'll taste the sweetness in green beans. A peach could be the most decadent, or a sweet pear, or a ripened banana that you use to sweeten oatmeal like I do is so sweet. You don't need anything sweetener. It's just dates, to me, are like unbelievable, right? Figs, I had some figs the other night. All that stuff will be so delicious. But the problem is that most people don't give it enough time, and they give up. So again, you got to talk to yourself when you're starting this new regime, if that's what you want to do. You got to use that Tony Robbins leverage technique. I talk about this all the time, where you make a list in your head of all the reasons why you shouldn't do it. And he always says that people are motivated by 2 factors, pain and pleasure, with pain to avoid pain is a bigger driver than seeking out pleasure. So if you make anything too pleasurable to do, you won't do it anymore. So if you keep talking to yourself and telling you why it's so bad to eat that piece of chocolate cake or that sugary dessert, you go over all the reasons, I'm gonna gain weight, and it's bad for my body, and it's inflammatory, and it blah, 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 and you keep going, whether it be the sugar or the artificial sweetener or the molasses, whatever. You make it so much more painful to eat that, you won't even want it anymore, and you make it more painful than pleasurable. So think about that. So again, just remember, we only got a minute left. Remember, it is going to be hard, but I always say this: choose your hard in life. For me, when I'm overweight, it's really hard to look in the mirror. It's hard to go shopping. It's hard not liking what I see. It's hard when I was really overweight, when I physically couldn't do things. I don't have kids, but if you have kids and your spouse and you can't physically do things, you want to do them because you're overweight, that's hard. So yeah, the dieting and retraining your taste buds and trying to retrain yourself for healthy food is hard too. But you just have to choose your heart in life. And I tell you, once you go through the detox, you will crave the healthy food like you used to crave the bad food. I promise you, but you gotta give it the time. But just remember and never forget, you can retrain your taste buds. Just stick with it and it will happen. We're out of time. Hope you enjoyed today's chat, and out.